Alright, welcome to Spec Proof. Now this video is a bit different compared to my previous work. I decided to use the opportunity to check out this upcoming 3rd generation 21 model year Nissan Qashqai. It's not out yet, but it will be available very soon. This one here is a pre-production example, so we'll be not driving it today. But I'm very glad to give you a quick walk around and my first impressions thanks to the Eurostauto Tallinn, which is a local Nissan and Mazda dealer. Let's start with the exterior. Well, personally, I'm rather stunned. It's a very good looking SUV, especially compared to the previous generations, which were, what's the right word? Sorry Nissan, they were bland. But this one here, it's bold, but at the same time it's not too much, like some competitors are. It's definitely not over-designed. It has some very clever and well thought out elements. Overall, the front end looks the best. It follows the same design language as the new Juke, which I also like, by the way. Futuristic, rather minimalist headlights follow perfectly the lines of the grille, which has very cool details in it. And while we run the details, the stamped Qashqai script near the front lights tops them all hands down. Very impressive. No competitor has gone that far as I'm aware of. Then there's some clever functional design elements also. I'm impressed how they have dealt with the additional brake cooling. There's an integrated duct in the front bumper. The rear end isn't as impressive compared to the front, but that's okay, it is still exciting and far from bland. Needless to say, it isn't over-designed, and I'm very happy that they decided to keep it modest in a, let's say, elegant way. And yes, Nissan has played it right. They have skipped the fake exhaust tips, which is a very unfortunate trend these days. So I guess we can forgive them the humble fake grille in the lower part of the rear bumper. On the side profile, pretty much the same adjectives can be used. Again, it isn't that impressive compared to the front, but it has nice sharp elements in it. Generally speaking, Nissan has avoided some hot design trends like the rear light bar and previously mentioned fake exhaust tips, but they have followed the rising craze of so-called floating roofline, and it looks decent. What's most remarkable about the 21 Qashqai is the interior, and by that I mean the material quality. It's almost uncomparable to the last generation and totally uncomparable to the first one. Even the areas like upper dashboard and lower part of the transmission tunnel are covered with decent materials, which doesn't feel or look cheap, and the use of high-gloss black plastic or so-called fake piano black trim is also non-disturbing, just a tiny amount. Sun visors and the headliner feel nice also. The bottom line is, while sitting on the driver's seat, you won't see anything cheap unless you're in some shady neighborhood and you look out of the windshield. There's only one part that feels cheap, the front cup holder. That said, it's out of sight for both the driver and the passenger. In the back, the same story continues. Sometimes I find it funny that most of the reviewers or journalists assume that the back seat is different in terms of quality, and then they point out that wow, even the rear occupants are treated equally. Well, yes, it definitely used to be that way over 20 or something years ago maybe, but nowadays I find that we have to take the equal interior quality for granted in the front. So where was I? Oh yes, back to the Qashqai. I have to say, it's quite roomy back here. The front seat is quite far from the steering wheel at the moment, but it still feels just fine back here. Not bad at all. The trunk lid or rear hatch opens electrically on the higher specification models like this one here, and there's 2 instead of 1 additional storage spaces under the floor of the storage compartment. And these storage covers are not attached to some hinge or something, they are completely free to move around. Is it good or bad, or is it just a clever way to cut some costs? I really don't know. I suppose there's both pros and cons to that matter. What about the specs and pricing? All models come with a brand new 1.3 liter turbocharged engine paired with a mild hybrid system. There will be 2 variants regarding the power output, a 140 horsepower unit and a slightly more powerful 158 horsepower version. The less powerful version comes only in a front-wheel drive form, mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. The higher output version gives you a choice between front or all-wheel drive. Either way, they will be coupled with a CVT transmission. 5 different trims or equipment levels are available. This puppy here is a top-of-the-line Techna Plus version, which means that it's loaded. Pro tip: Techna Plus comes exclusively with a black headliner. On the lesser trims, it isn't even an option. Here in Estonia, the pricing starts from 23,250 euros. I suppose this number will be more or less the same in elsewhere. Base, aka Vizia model, isn't embarrassing at all. It comes with an adaptive cruise control as standard, so in my book, it's golden. Plenty of modern safety options are also included. Cheapest 4-wheel drive version starts at 32,250 euros, and this top-of-the-line demonstrator will be yours for at least 38,350 euros. I will discuss the options more thoroughly when I am able to drive the car. Nissan Qashqai is pretty popular in Estonia. I have no doubt that the new one will continue on that road, and I won't be surprised at all when they succeed the predecessor. Thanks for watching.